When the time
There it is.
has come for AWS OnAir.
That's-
Yes, you thought you could get rid of me.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this.
No, I won't.
Yeah, that's right.
Shed a tear.
Get
no, I. Sorry. Todd Fortier.
Oh, not bad. You
That
pulled
felt
that
good.
one. You squeezed it in
Yeah,
there.
I pulled it out of my hat.
What's up, Kyle? How you doing, man?
Dude, I am so good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It's a little gloomy here in Pittsburgh, but the temperature's starting to come back up. We had sub-zero temperatures for a while, and we actually froze pipes in this house. So it's been a little bit hectic at home, but thankfully I'm working from the office now, so it's warm. I survived it.
You survived? Because you're a survivor. I'm going to stop there. It is also chilly. Actually, we're supposed to be getting what's called a river wind effect here in northern Nevada, where I'm just looking across the valley, and it is so windy right now. I don't know. I just learned about river wind. Sounds like a tongue twister if you ask me.
Sounds like the name of a band from like the 70s that did like soulful
just something that you'd see like with pink lights and fog just looming about in a venue. You're just like, oh, the river winds. But hey, that's not what we're here to be talking about today. But hey, chat, speaking of weather and storms and, Todd warming all of Pittsburgh with his heart after it's frozen, where is everyone tuning in from today? I would love to hear where everyone's at. And hey, is it freezing temperatures where you're at? Because it certainly is here. But I digress.
Yeah. Is it cold? Yeah, as the chat starts to warm up, let's remind the folks what this is. Why are we here, Kyle? Why are we on Twitch on a Friday at, well, it's 3 p.m. Eastern for me. What are we doing on this thing?
Well, it's because producer Nick said, Kyle, the people have not seen you in such a long time. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time for my triumphant return. And so I'm back. But we are going to be talking about some really cool new features that are going to be released or are released within AWS. And you know what? This is my favorite part about the job. We get the individuals that are responsible for this new feature and release, and we get to pepper them with questions. And better yet, the audience, you watching live, get to ask these questions to these subject matter experts without needing to leave the comfort of your own home. Or if you're in a coffee shop, or you might even be at a bar, who knows? But you get to ask the experts who helped create this and know the most about this service now, these different questions. So don't feel shy to ask questions.
Yeah, ask questions. Let us know what you want to know. This is, like you said, this is one of the coolest part about the job. Like, AWS is such an innovative company. There's always something new going on, and it's hard to keep up with. Like, I certainly can't do it in my day-to-day, but I look forward to this show, being a part of this show, to learn from folks. Like, what are we building that's like right on the edge there? And we listen to our customers, right? We want to know what people are building, where their problems are, what they're struggling with, and then oftentimes we'll take that and build it, and then it comes onto this show. This is a launch show. We show all the cool new stuff, and then we get to talk about it. And I'm here to learn with the audience, so I'm going to be asking questions. I'm hoping you're asking questions, and I'm very excited to do it with Kyle. It's been a long time since we've hosted together.
Yeah, reInvent, and I can't believe that's already been almost 2 months.
That's right, reInvent. We got to talk to Dr. Swami about his keynote. That was highlight of my reInvent.
That was pretty legendary. And now we're back to be talking about some 2 new features that we're going to be talking about, peppering questions away. And you know what? I think the audience is like, all right, we know who Kyle and Todd are. Whether this is the first time you're watching us or, you're pretty intimate with who Kyle and Todd are, we welcome you back. But surely last but not least, let's bring on some awesome guests to talk about the first new feature that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
Nick, hit the button that makes the fancy stuff happen.
Let's get it started. Hey, here we are.
Hey, what's up, party people?
We are
How's it going?
we're live. I know you guys have been waiting for this all year long. You're so finally on AWS OnAir. But maybe let's start with some introductions. Let the folks know who you are and what do you do at AWS? Lee, let's start with you. I'll just pick one.
Yeah, let's. Don't want us to just talk over people.
Dude, talking on the internet is so weird, isn't it? It's like, I do that at least 4 times an episode, and so I apologize to the audience and to our guests if I start to talk over you. So, Lee, I'll shut up. You go.
Okay. All right, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Kier. I'm a principal solutions architect aligned to Amazon S3. So that's what I work on.
Cool. Hey everybody, my name is Ruhi Sood. I am a product manager on the Amazon S3 team, and I work on the product that we're going to be talking about today, the feature called S3 Metadata.
Yeah, and I'm chomping at the bit here because I'm so excited because I got a question for the chat. What was the second oldest service that AWS has offered to customers? Name it in the chat, and if you get it right, you'll get a free high five. Right there. But I'm really excited.
Kyle's already given out high fives.
Yeah.
It's early in the show for that.
If I know. No, it's not. Yes. All right. We got someone in
the
Twitch channel saying S3.
There's a little controversy about that, though.
Let's hear it.
Some say, was it SNS or SQS? And some say S3.
SQS had the first beta, the first offering, but the first GA was S3.
But we don't see an SQS mascot running around Reno.
It's very true.
Buckets everywhere.
We got to be clear on the terms here. What are we talking about? That's I didn't know that. I learned that today. Thanks for that. So, but we're talking about S3, and S3 obviously over the years has expanded into many new features and new things, and that still happening now with S3 metadata. So we're going to get into it. I want to understand first before we get into what metadata is. What was the problem that we were trying to solve? Help us understand why do we need this feature at all?
So Todd, how the data lakes are growing crazy today. Most of the customers in S3 are managing massive amounts of data. Customers are managing at least terabytes, if not petabytes of data in S3. And understanding this complex data landscape that they have is very challenging. Either you don't know what you have, or it's very time consuming, very resource intensive to build your own custom indexes and figure out what type of data do you have. The idea with S3 metadata was to offer a very simple but a very powerful way for customers to accelerate data discovery in their S3 buckets. So it's whether you want to gain insights into what your usage landscape is, which objects are encrypted, or just general S3 infrastructure. This is such a powerful tool. It can help you transform all of this data complexity into clarity and basically help customers make more informed decisions about their cloud storage. So that's where we started with as a problem statement.
Yeah, I can imagine. So data lakes, the term more often, and I for the data lakes that I was managing, it's easy when it's just a couple out. You get started just a few objects, and even just a couple tens of objects. Then all of a sudden it explodes, and then you're handling millions of objects. I think we have actually a poll question for our audience. How many data lakes are running on S3 today? I know we have a fancy poll system, but I'm just going to throw that one out there. How many data lakes do you think are on S3 today? There's a total number of data lakes. I'll give people time to answer that. So these lakes are massive. We need to understand what data is in that data lake. What were customers doing to try to do that, solve that on their own?
So before S3 metadata, customers would there were just 2 options. You would have to DIY a custom solution. So customers would orchestrate the collection of all of this metadata, the management of this metadata, keeping it, your data lake continues to grow. So this can't be a one-time activity. So you have to build pipelines that will continuously refresh it. And besides time, this is resource intensive. It takes time away from the actual use case you're trying to work on. And sometimes they would create custom solutions. Sometimes they would use third-party solutions. But with everything, it was time-consuming, resource-intensive, and it required them to understand how to build, maintain these pipelines. And we decided to jump in and bring the power of AWS and decided to do it for them. And that's how S3 metadata came into being.
Yeah, nice. Kyle, what you got?
So I always think about so when I talk to customers, the problem they're trying to solve, from a security aspect, for those that are new to the show, I'm a security person. What do they do with this massive amounts of data, and how can they understand, what sort of data do they have?
Yeah.
Some customers may opt to have like an S3 bucket, which is an object store for those new to the service. S3 lets you store objects no matter what it is. And then it just grows from there. And they're like, oh my gosh, we have this giant bucket. What data is actually in here? And we have Macy that'll help identify like, PHI or like sensitive types of information. But, sometimes it can be overwhelming.
It can be.
And you're talking about petabytes. That's this many, as my daughter. It's just like that many.
Well, yeah, Kyle, and you're either spending all that time looking for the object, or you're spending all that time designing and building something that will help you look for the object. And it just I get it. It can become a mess. So, Ruhi, what did we do to help with this? Like, what are we launching? What are we talking about today? The S3 metadata, but what does that really mean?
What does it mean?
So let me break down what does S3 metadata do for you today. What S3 metadata does, it's a managed feature. So for every new object that comes into your bucket, or in fact, every change that you make into your bucket, we will provide the metadata for that object or for those changes in something called S3 tables. S3 tables is also a feature that was launched this reInvent. It's managed Iceberg tables. What that means is that we maintain the metadata, we provide the metadata, maintain it for you, and you can easily query that metadata. Like it's near real time. You're adding objects, you're making changes, we're taking it into an Iceberg format, putting it in S3 tables, and it's available for you to query in near real time. You can get metadata about your objects, object size, storage class, KMS key yarns, and in fact, even user-defined metadata tags. We've heard a lot at reInvent on about how customers want us to expand it in the variety of metadata that they want. And we're actively working on some of that. But today there is a lot of standard object level metadata that is available as customers are adding and updating the objects.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. I have so many questions, but first I'm going to check in on our poll here. We've got a few guesses coming in. I see one for 10K. That seems a little low to me for the number of data lakes. Another one in the millions, which seems maybe a little bit more. Should we just reveal the answer now and just get on with it? Yeah, millions, 10K. I have on my cheat sheet here more than 1 million data lakes on S3.
That does it become an ocean instead?
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think the more data becomes the lifeblood of organizations, and everybody's seeing the value of data, especially now with generative AI. We can get into how this supports that, but a lot of people are turning to data lakes to organize all that data into one place, and S3 is a great place to do that. So this feature is very timely. So you're saying, okay, so let's get back to what you were saying. An object stored in a bucket is composed of a couple different things. One, just the bits and bytes that make up that object. That's obviously the thing that's being stored. But then there's all this data that describes what that is. How big is the file? What's the name of it? What type of file is it? When was it created? All of those different things. That's the metadata, and those features help us understand what's in there. So if we can catalog and index that well, we can more quickly find what we're looking for. How'd I do?
That you did very well. In fact, I can give you some examples. Like if you're trying to understand, like I have, tell me the storage that is associated with my tag foo. Like you can answer it. It used to take so much effort for customers to answer questions like this before, or tell me all of the objects in my bucket that have this particular KMS key yarn. or don't have it. And you could just do like simple queries like listing objects that are not encrypted, or just understanding how much usage you have against your user-defined metadata. These things are so much simpler with S3 metadata now. We also have so on the you mentioned Gen AI side, so I'll bring that up.
Yeah, how does we can't go an episode without saying Gen AI at least a handful.
It's required.
We made it 17 minutes in.
Okay, but no, that is I can understand this is gonna have impact. Like what does this have to do with generative AI, Ruhi? I cut you off.
No. It's all good. So there are a couple of things I want to mention. One, customers are not just using it for data discoverability, they're actually also using it for data analytics. Like I said, these queries are actually going to help you figure out what objects make more sense for your analytical use case, and you can quickly find it, feed it to your models, so as to say. The other aspect of this is we also have, if Bedrock's async API is writing an object to S3 today, it annotates that object. So it's very easy for you to look up and see that this particular object was written by Bedrock, and this is the particular model that produced that object. So it's easier for customers to differentiate between synthetic data and raw data that way. So that's also a capability that we're really pumped up about. We were very excited to work on that, making it easier to see what's ML generated.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, because there's going to be, I imagine, some regulatory requirements coming, if not already, in some parts of the world, where you're going to have to be able to answer that question: is this synthetically generated or not? I think there's also, Kyle and I hosted, like we were mentioning in the beginning of the show, we hosted at reInvent this year. We talked to Dr. Swami, and he said, AWS has always been there's no one model to rule them all. And so there's going to be these like kind of finely tuned models that do things really well. And maybe you want to know what model created this thing to answer that question. Which models are performing? Maybe which ones we could lean on a little bit more. And so you're saying we can start to answer those questions from our data because it's cataloged in this thing. So you said it was in Iceberg tables. Now, how do we actually query it? Maybe this is a question for the demo. Is this what we're going to see in the demo? I'm getting ahead of myself.
You might actually see it in the demo.
Exactly what we're
Should we jump into the demo? I think we should jump into the demo.
All right,
let's hop
do
on in.
All right, let me share my screen.
Let's go and ski on down there.
Slide right into that demo. Nice.
Slide right in there. Nicely done. All right, so this is the S3 console. Excuse me, as I look up, that's where my screen is. So the first thing we said it had to go into a table bucket. So we talked about these. Oh, that's awesome.
It's okay. We could tear that down. Nick, bring it down.
Just a reminder for our audience, we are live. And things happen at a live demo. I want to know, has anybody else on the chat been on a demo? I want to hear your worst. Like, where did it go wrong? I'm sure there's some good stories out there.
Oh my gosh, Todd,
I can tell the story, which is that on Pi Day last year, my laptop died right in the middle of the demo.
Well, Lee, I did us a disservice. It's tradition on this show, at least when I'm around, that we do a demo dance. And we didn't do the demo dance.
You have to appease the demo gods,
All right, demo dance completed. Wow, I'm a little dizzy. Dance completed.
To your question though, on Iceberg, I think that's where Lee was going. It's we launched this feature called S3 tables, and it stores all of the tables are stored in an Iceberg format today. And what that means for our end customers is that you can you get better performance. You can query your data much faster. We take care of the table maintenance for you, so you do not have to do a lot of table management, compaction stuff, etc. So effectively, this S3 metadata takes advantage of these capabilities, and the metadata is stored in that S3 table for customers to query it.
Yeah, and we have some good sessions from reInvent on S3 tables. I actually hosted that segment, and it was I got to see that firsthand. But presumably the service we would use to query that would be something like Amazon Athena.
Yeah. So you can use Athena, you can use Redshift. They're open source engines.
Okay.
I think Lee, you probably want to take it from here.
Yeah, let's continue on.
Yeah,
here.
let's get into it.
You can see my screen is back up. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create a table bucket. So this is really super easy. I'm just going to call it my test bucket. And you'll also notice this down here. So we've got this integration status is already set. So this is already enabled. So the very first time you do the table bucket, it's going to do that integration for you. And what that means is it's just going to be really simple for us to actually query this from Athena. And I'll show you exactly how to do that.
It's going to connect some bits in the background for us so we don't have to.
Do some,
this is S3 tables, what we're seeing now.
Right, that's right. And then we need to actually go and configure S3 metadata. So here I have a regular general purpose bucket. You can see that it's S3 metadata secondary, some little bits here, and it already has some data. And then right next to it, you see metadata. And all we need to do, we just click this create metadata configuration. We're going to browse, and I'm going to actually pick my previously created table bucket like that. And then you'll see it has this metadata name. Now, I don't like this stuff at the end here, so I'm just going to take that off. You can name this anything you like, create, and it's going to take just a couple minutes to create that. Now, as soon as I've done that, now once requests start coming into my bucket, puts and deletes, anything that mutates or changes the data, that'll be recorded in that metadata bucket. So now there is one thing we do need to do. I said there was some integration done, but we do want to make sure we have some permissions. You may not want to let everyone in the account be able to access this bucket via Athena. So
especially not the Kyles of the world. You got to watch out for guys like Kyle.
For sure. So
I mean, did you see that demo dance? I mean, come on.
But this catalog is already created here. We didn't have to do anything. That was already done in that integration. So we didn't have to create that. All we need to do is actually create the permissions we want. So we go and grant. We're going to go ahead and pick our user. We're just going to pick this admin user. And then we're going to go and we see we've got our catalog here already. We need to pick that one out. We get this one. This is the actual table bucket that I created. Now the database is always going to be this AWS S3 metadata if it's for the metadata configuration. And then I can pick this, but I'm going to pick all tables because I want to be able to do for all of the tables I have in there. We're going to select, describe, and select and describe, and then go ahead and grant.
Okay, got it. So we have to. So that was a permission scoping thing. So we have to first tell it what we want to offer permissions to, and where we want to store some of that stuff, and then what can they specifically do, and then what they can specifically do.
What they can specifically do. Now we actually have to do it also. So that was at the table level. We actually also need to do this at the database level. So we actually do have to do these two. And in this case, we're going to do the create table and describe, and hit grant. I should also mention there is a blog that I was a co-author on that goes through all of this. So you don't need to worry about trying to keep up, what exactly do I need to hit? You can go and look at that blog. Hopefully we can put that in
we'll
chat.
drop a link there in the chat. If you're paying attention and not busy thinking about skiing.
Absolutely. Right. All right. So now when we go to Athena, it's actually, this is all be pre-populated. You can see we've got our S3 table catalog and S3 metadata bucket. And our database, as I said, will always be this S3 metadata. And then we've got our tables down here. Now I just want to, let's go ahead so we can open this up and we can see all of the fields that we have here. Some of the ones we've talked about before, like the source IP address, the user metadata and object tags. So it'd be great. We probably should mention something about these. So there's two different kinds of metadata that you can automatically have S3 metadata organized for you. So you have user-defined metadata, and this is something that you upload with your request, right? So this is immutable, stuff that just is part of the object, something that's not going to change. And then you have object tags, which you can change. So that's for your mutable things that maybe it's the project that it's in or something like that. But the so there's a difference there between which ones you want to use depends on whether it's an immutable aspect of the data or attribute, or if it's something that might change. And you can do both of those in here. And then, so let's just go ahead and just preview the table. Let's just see. So you'll notice I used the S3 primary here instead of the secondary one I created because, as I said, it starts collecting once you turn that on. So this has been on for a while, so I've already got some data in here. So we can look at this. All right, so we've got our bucket, key, sequence number. This is just something to make it unique. Then you have your record type. So this is something where we created an object or we put an object. Here we updated metadata, maybe we changed a tag, and then these are deletes. So we can see all of when that happened, version ID, whether it's a delete marker, you see for the ones where it's deletes, it was true. The size where it's not a delete. When it happened in GMT, storage class, multi-part, the encryption type, except when it's delete. We also have our checksum, right? This is our new checksum algorithm. And then here's our object tags and user metadata. So this is, here we did actually have some user metadata on this particular object. We can see where it came from, request ID. So those are the fields we can see for all of them.
So if Todd were to go into an S3 bucket that has metadata, logging, and all that stuff, sorry, I kind of shortchanged it. Would we be able to see like Todd deleted this object, or would we still need to use something like data events within CloudTrail to see that?
Specifically to see if Todd did it, we might. We do get to see, as you can see, we get to see the source IP and the requester. So we know the account, but we don't necessarily know if it was Todd.
Okay.
Specifically.
Okay, cool.
Right.
But if that's a feature that you want, please do let us know in the chat. These are the type of questions we'd love.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to see the IAM role, we'd love feedback on that.
Yeah, Kyle never takes off his security hat, so he wants to know who did what always.
Right.
But my wheels are spinning. I can see all kinds of ways that this could be useful for like assessing. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just saying, but because this is sort of the data foundation layer, right? Like we have this data now stored, we can easily query it. Presumably, there's a next step we can start to really run the business analytics, the maybe QuickSight, pull this into a QuickSight dashboard, and start to do the analysis over time. I want to hear what the audience has to think about what we're seeing here. This is getting
my security brain is racking on what we can do as far as like providing security context around this for data inventory. Even we'll go ahead and bring your demo down because we gotta unfortunately time is a scarce resource and we can't put that into a metadata table and then query it. But what we can do is do a pizza stop on this. It was lovely to talk to you about, one, the awesome service that is S3, and then also this new feature and what it can do to expand the horizons of data inventory when it comes to even the petabytes. I'm looking at an S3 bucket right now that's only like 100 megs, and there's like 15 objects in there. I'm already overwhelmed. Can't even imagine petabytes of objects.
Yeah.
And then prefixes.
Turn on metadata, Kyle.
I was following along. I did. All right, friends. Well, it was lovely to chat with you too. We're going to unfortunately have to say goodbye. Wave to the audience.
It was our pleasure.
It was lovely.
Thank you.
And, now the audience has to deal with Todd and I for a couple more minutes. We're not sorry about it.
Nice. Yeah. And of course, we're going to chairlift some links in the chat. So if you want to learn more about S3 metadata, follow the blog, follow the product description page. I'm sure there's great documentation on how to turn these things on and what you could do with them. And then, of course, later in this show, we're going to have the repost team on to use repost to answer some of those questions. So if you have a question, go to repost, check that out. Just stick around for that. Kyle, how you feeling? Are you cold? Are you going up?
I'm feeling a little bit Jerry-ish today. But you know what? I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling great. All of a sudden thinking about pizza and French fries, that was really got me hungry.
Yeah, you said pizza stop, and I was like, man, I did not have lunch. I did not have lunch today.
Might hit up the LODGE Lodge for some fresh sodas and chicken nuggets. Who knows?
Yeah, dude, wax that board and get out there and hit the slopes, man, and go shred some gnar.
What we can say is that the next couple of individuals that we're going to have are quite the moguls when it comes to SageMaker Lakehouse. And we're going to be talking about this new feature when it comes to SageMaker, I think machine learning, artificial intelligence, foundational models, and a bunch of other sciencey stuff that, well, I'm not a rocket doctor, I'll never understand. But that's why we're going to bring them on.
Yeah, they're gonna have to come on and go slow for this one. I think I get it. I think it's best to have the experts explain it, and I think that we should do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll instruct us on how to do this properly. So let's go ahead and, well, if Nick can find that button again, let's bring on the fancy graphics.
Let's do it.
Fancy graphics.
So, yeah. Hey, Sandy, Scott, welcome to the stream. It's getting wacky. It's getting silly. You are the second segment of the day. So bear with us here as we roll into your segment here. But first, let's start with introductions. People want to know who you are and what do you do? Not just what your title is. What do you do? What would you say you do here?
I take the requirements from the customer and I hand it to the developers.
I can go first. I'm Sandeep. I'm product manager in the AWS. I make the data cataloging and permissioning easy for our customers.
Nice. I like that.
That's nice and succinct.
Yeah, I like that.
Make it easy for customers.
Hey, welcome to the show, Scott. Hey.
Hey, guys. Great to be with you. I'm Scott. I'm a product manager on the Amazon Athena service, and I'll be your ski instructor for today with federated queries.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I love Athena, by the way. If you've seen any of the security shows that I've hosted, we're using Athena a lot to query who did what, where, when, and how, who done it. And then SageMaker, I'm not a rocket doctor, but Sandeep makes it easy, as he just said. So please explain it to me like I'm 5 and on the bunny slope here.
Yeah, we're going to break this down. One thing. So what were customers do? Where do we start here? So like first say what it is. Okay. And then we'll get into how it's used. How about that? So what are we talking about?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is this new offering we just launched at reInvent called SageMaker Lakehouse. In particular, in this, we are talking about the federation aspect. So we saw the Amazon S3, all this data lake, right? But the customers also have sources, which are warehouses, object stores like DynamoDBs and the transaction database. And they want like a single view where it's easy to catalog, easy to apply permission, a single view to access your data. So that's what we call Lakehouse and federation capabilities.
Okay, I see. I pick it up on a theme here. We are making it easier for customers, and we're hearing from them that they need things to be easier in one place to manage it. So what was the problem that customers were running into? Let's dive into that a little bit. What was the problems that customers were running into with this type of data or system?
Scott, do you want to go, or I can?
Yeah, I can take a crack at it. So on the Athena service, right? Like a lot of folks come and want to query the data that they have in S3, and we just saw Lee demo that, and Kyle, you were talking about how you're using Athena quite a bit, which we'd love to hear. But not all data is in S3, right? Like customers have, as Sandeep mentioned, some data in DynamoDB. You've got data in a warehouse like Redshift. You may have data over there in Snowflake or another cloud provider. And so what Athena offers, and the problem that Athena can kind of help customers solve, is allowing you to connect to and run queries on that data without having to move the data and without having to ask your analysts and data scientists to learn a radically new query syntax, right? So Athena supports the ANSI SQL dialect. So that's a common format. So Athena has this capability to run what we call federated queries on this, collection of data sources. And it's a really convenient feature that allows you to sort of join the data that you may have in DynamoDB with data that you're storing in S3, for example, to gain a broader set of insights on your data. And so one of the problems that the Athena customers have had for a while now when using this feature is really thinking through the governance aspect of that experience. And that's where, my partnership and collaboration with Sandeep has brought us to the Lakehouse as a way to sort of solve that problem and unify the experience around not only the catalog experience or the data discovery, but then how do you then secure that data with permissions so that the right folks have access to the right data?
Okay, I think I'm starting to pick up what you're putting down. You're saying that there are data sources, just like there's no one generative AI model to rule on, there's no one database to rule on all that. Each database has its own sort of need, or data storage serves its own purpose, and we need to combine those things into one place. And Amazon Athena has been doing this through federated queries. So not just, you don't have to pull all that data in and then query it. You can query it where it exists. So that's Amazon Athena, but then you don't want to just turn that on and let anybody do it and have just have access to all the different data sources. So you have to manage that, and that's cumbersome too, right? Because now I'm managing it over here in this place. Who has guessed it? Then I'm managing it over here, and I'm managing it over here, and I can imagine how that gets hairy real quick.
It gets very hairy.
Okay, not like Kyle's face.
No, I was going to say, not like the 3 bearded individuals that are on this call. Sorry, Sandeep.
Sorry, Sandeep, you didn't get the memo?
Yeah. Check your mail.
Yeah.
We sent you one that you could wear.
So Sandeep, let's get a little bit deeper into what a lakehouse is, because we were talking about data lakes. We're talking about a lot of different water euphemisms here. What is a lakehouse in this context?
Yeah, so we talked about Amazon S3 before this, right? So that's the data lake that almost many of our AWS customers familiar with, use it every day. And then we have like Redshift, right, which is our cloud data warehouse, which performs a really great performance, right? And if you think about data lake, the kind of the lake part of it and the house part of the warehouse, kind of bringing those together to create this lake house effect, where you're bringing the best of the both worlds. So one, which is the data lake S3, where you have this infinite ways of, in a sense, accessing the data with multiple open standards and very cost effective. And with the warehouse, you get this high performant, managed, completely automated query performance, right? And you are getting this best of the both worlds with the warehouse. And on top of that, we are adding, with the collaboration with the Athena Federation related queries, this concept of federation. So it's not just limited to your data lakes and warehouses. We are supporting a lot more, right? So we're supporting your RDS, your MySQL, your Postgres, your DynamoDB, and even third-party sources, right? Like Snowflake and BigQuery. Those all come inside the lakehouse. You get those kind of single catalog, single permission mechanisms, and ability to use the query engines in that platform.
Yeah, Sandeep, I love the way that you explained that. You have data lakes, you have data warehouses, drop the data, what do you get? Lake house. Okay, and so we get the best of both worlds, and then you're saying we can go beyond just warehouses and data lakes. We can start to do, relational databases or object storage databases. Is maybe this metadata, you want to tie that into some of this. Okay, I think I'm picking it up. I think questions from the chat. We want to hear the chat. Have you heard of lakehouse architectures? Are you using it? What else do we got? Let's see if we can wake this chat up. Hello.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Girl, will you put a little makeup?
I was waiting. Okay, so
people are like, why did we do this?
Yeah. They're like, let's just get back to work and actually do something cool for our customers. So you're going to show us how this works, or presumably we got a demo. This is what we do on the show. We talk about why, then we get into how. Maybe it's time to bring up that. Hi, Jim.
Yeah,
let's hop on the lift and show us the demo. Hold on, wait, demo dance.
Demo dip. Oh my gosh, it doesn't get better.
What?
Just kidding. I love it. I love it. I love the energy. It's Friday.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're looking at the AWS console right now. Okay.
Yeah, so now you can see that there is Amazon SageMaker and there is Amazon SageMaker AI, right? So previously it was primarily about creating new models, creating machine learning and all that. We basically renamed it to SageMaker AI, and the SageMaker is basically became the kind of the platform where you bring the data and AI and ML together, right? So you go into the AWS console, you go into the SageMaker, right, as an administrator. And that provides you a way to kind of entry point as a center for your data analytics AI. And the way you get started, you use what is called the domain, right? You create a domain and then you kind of configure the domain. I already created a domain. So this is the Lakehouse domain I created.
We lost your screen, Sandeep.
I think Nick's trying to prove that even though I did the demo dance, that he's in control.
We're getting some communication from from our producers here. They're saying that. What's that? Huh?
Yep, something about. Yep, there we go.
Got it.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So so you're in the SageMaker, and you can see the kind of the domains that are out there, right? And you can go and configure those domains. And you can, what we provided is what we call Open Unified Studio, right? So when you open the Unified Studio within the domain, you get this kind of new experience, right? So this new experience is about bringing your data, your generative AI playground assets all together, and in an easy to use way, which is we call projects, right? So this, you as a data admin, you'll create a project. I already created a project. And inside the project, you will see this a capability called Lakehouse. So now you are in this world of Lakehouse, where you have this set of all these sources, right? So we talked about Amazon S3 and all those cool databases and tables that are there. They all show up, right? So you can go and in the Glue catalog and look at it. But not only that, you now have access to your DynamoDB, MySQL, your Postgres, your kind of Redshift, the S3 tables that we talked earlier, that's there as well, and the Snowflake, right? So you have a kind of ability to go across the sources, not just like S3 or S3 tables, but the Redshift and then the Snowflake of the world, as well as the operational sources.
Yeah, it truly is a unified studio experience. I didn't. This was something we launched just at reInvent. This is brand new. This is still hot.
This is brand new, and you can see this preview tab here, right? So this part is still the preview. The Lakehouse we made it GA, so this capability is out there and it's GA. But this console experience is preview.
I really, this is huge because you're providing this unified, like comprehensive view for all these different data sources, and especially for organizations that deal with large sets of data, and then maybe mergers and acquisitions. They want to be able to join this data and just, not have to go and do a bunch of bits and bytes and sauce. And I'm totally downplaying what happens because it's such a complex thing. Again, not a rocket doctor, but you're making it more simple to be able to make data into an organizational commodity.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes with AWS, you don't want to plan for where you are. You want to plan for where you want to be, where you're going to be. And so, yeah, you may only have one database now, but I can promise you it won't be that way for long. Okay, so what do we got next on this demo here? So we're looking at a bunch of different data sources.
Yeah. And it's very easy to anyone to get added, right? So you go and add a connections, and we have a bunch of connectors here. You go and select any of these, and you provide the connection information, and that just gets it added here, right? And then all this information about the catalog and the databases and tables are available to you, right? So that's the kind of viewing and the permissioning part of it is kind of follows, right? So we talked about kind of the permissioning, and Scott talked about kind of bringing that permission together. Anytime you create those catalogs, those get showed up in our Lake Formation console as kind of federated catalogs, right? So the same thing I showed is also available in the admin console. If you want to kind of, you're the security experts and you want to look at each of the permissions, you can go and look at that, right? So in detail.
Sandeep, you just switched service. I blinked and you switched services on me. So we were in SageMaker Unified Studio. This is a whole nother service. We're in AWS Lake Formation, which has been around. But you're saying that information got brought into a Lake Formation automatically?
Or it's the other way around, right? So you can say that, you can say that administrator view is to, if it's S3 table or the metadata table we talked about, or Postgres, I get this admin view, but as a user or a data worker, I just get to see what is made available to me, right?
Okay.
So and the key part of it, and we want to kind of first stress a little bit on this, which is it's also fine grained, right? So like if you take an example of, let's say this DynamoDB, right?
Top Gun forever.
So this DynamoDB is has like 3 columns, like zip code, customer, phone, and phone may be a PII, is personally identified information. You may not want to give it to everyone, right? So for those users, maybe you can create kind of a different role and a different project, in fact, and provide the access. For example, sales team, maybe they don't need access to everything, right? So as the users, you add them to the sales project, right? And they get to see only some parts of it. They may not see everything, but they may get maybe some tables which they want to kind of utilize, and some parts of kind of DynamoDB table. And particularly if you look at it, the same table in DynamoDB, it's showing only zip code and customer ID. It's not showing the PI information for this particular user in this particular project, right? So you have this fine-grained ways where you can provide these permissions, even though it's a lot of data, it's a lot of tables and databases. You can still control it at a fine-grained level and provide exact access to at a level of column or even rows, right? Whether who should get access to what.
Kyle, how are your security senses tingling right now?
They're a tingling because I really like. Again, we're talking about potentially petabytes of data, right? And being able to control that access. I mean, we all go through it everywhere throughout the world. You know, we go through data privacy e-learnings or something like that, or handling of sensitive information, and this is giving us that ability to really tighten down that, you know, information that, you know, may not need to be disclosed to, say, someone in sales, but you got someone within HR that would need to see those more sensitive data columns or whatever that case may be.
Well, and I can imagine too, in heavily regulated industries, there's going to be some compliance aspect to that as well.
Yeah, you need to be able to say who has what and the ability to do what with what.
Right.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
And the fun really starts to increase, Kyle, as you would imagine, when you not only have these departmental, but also geographic requirements, and how those permission mechanisms vary by data source, right? So we know DynamoDB and how permissions work there, but let's say I think the example was given earlier through maybe an acquisition of a new company. There's now a new data source, which has a new way to express their policies and permissions. So what's really neat about this experience is how Lake Formation provides a consistent mechanism to sort of express those policies. And it does that through a set of constructs like Sandeep demoed, with the catalogs and permissions at a database and table level. And what's really neat about that is you now have this kind of unifying like permission layer for all of these data sources that kind of go beyond, again, the potentially the AWS cloud. So that's where it gets really interesting. And you can imagine the complexity that customers are sort of navigating when they're, trying to integrate and bring all this data together. And this is why, from a design standpoint with Unified Studio, one of our goals was to try to just present the data as simply as possible and kind of lay it out there for users to freely navigate and be able to click through, subject to their permissions, of course.
Yeah, Scott, I like the way that you explained that, but I can assure you that is only fun for nerds like us here. But yeah, that's a great explanation about how unifying this, it kind of reminds me, gosh, I've said this word too many times in the last week, of what of simplexity. You remember the reinvent? Like, it seems simple now, like what's happening in Unified Studio, but there's a complex thing happening underneath, but we've been able to obscure that complexity through a really simple unified interface, which is pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure Sandeep has all my prescriptions on the screen right now.
Yeah, so yeah, while Scott was talking, what I was doing was like showing the capability where the engines are integrated in here, right? So for some of the tables in S3, you can do it through multiple engines, the Athena Redshift, and others. For this ones, we have specifically integrated with, in this case, the Athena I'm showing here. And
wait, so this is an embedded Athena query console.
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
Airtime today.
Yeah, Athena.
And by the way, for those that are watching and are like, what is this Athena thing they're talking about? If I could simplify it, and Scott, please don't attack me. It's a serverless way of being able to query data, and you're only going to be accruing a cost when you're executing that query. So it's not technically humming along when you're not using it. It is just not doing anything. And so when Sandeep ran that query, then it's like, oh, I'm running for X duration, and now I'm going to, put that usage towards your monthly bill. But it's a great way to query data.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
And spot on, Kyle. I'll have to pull you into my next meeting with a customer
sounds yes.
It is one of those services that is pivotal. I mean, it's used in so many different contexts, whether you're doing analytics and business insights and you're using QuickSight and you want to bridge that gap in querying, Athena is going to be there. If you're data lakes and metadata, I mean, we've said it so much today, like it's featured so much today. It really is a pivotal service worth knowing.
And let me just explain one part of kind of the journey that Sandeep is kind of displaying. Although I work on Athena, we're, myself, Sandeep, and a whole number of other folks were also involved in the SageMaker Unified Studio project. So our sort of thinking there is, customers some of them may be consuming and using Athena through the console. Some may be using it through their, driver-based applications and whatnot. Unified Studio sort of presents a new paradigm shift for how users and AWS customers can consume their data. And really the thought process there is we want to make these individual service to service kind of choices that you make in building those workflows start to kind of disappear over time. Mm-hmm. And so the reason, the kind of place that you see Athena in here is as a compute provider or as a kind of integration point. You also see Redshift in here, so you're able to kind of leverage the Redshift query engine underneath, assuming you've connected to it. And so the idea is Athena can connect to data, and those connectors that Athena supports to not only S3, but Dynamo, those are now registered through the Lakehouse catalog, permissions through the Lakehouse catalog, and then visible as queryable objects with the Athena engine through the Unified Studio. And so you get all the same features that you would have in the Athena console presented here uniformly and easily toggleable to another query engine.
All right, Scott, I'm going to bring this back to another reInvent messaging thing. Something about hosting with Kyle, just like I'm having reInvent flashbacks. When we talked to Dr. Swami, Kyle and I, he talked about this idea of innovation convergence. We've innovated in all of these services, and Athena was like an innovative way to query data and not pay for what Kyle was just describing. And then we have these databases. They were innovative in and of themselves, and now they're converging under one hood, and we call that SageMaker Unified Studio. So yeah, that's a great explanation, Scott. I like that. It's just I'm getting triggered by all my reInvent thing. Maybe I just needed a month to let it sink in.
More like night terrors. He's like, I had to host with Kyle.
No, that's great. Okay, cool. So Sandeep, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left. What's the most important thing? Are we missing something?
I think one thing is the cool part is you have all these sources, right? Which is DynamoDB and S3s and Redshift and others. And now you have a way to query those together, right? You can join this data from different tables in different sources across this, boundaries, which you couldn't do before. And what while you guys were talking, I just did that, which is I did kind of the inner join between your DynamoDB table, and then one of the S3 table that is in the data lake, right? For this particular customer ID, so that I was able to pull up some of the information, the customer specific information, right? Mm-hmm. And that's some capabilities where now in a sense the boundary between these data sources are getting blurred when you do the query, right? So you have this unified ways of catalog or discovery, unified permissions, but in fact the kind of the querying capabilities across those sources, right?
Yeah,
do we have access to the Todd? Do we have access to the saved queries feature that Athena has within this Unified Studio?
Yes, it's a little different here. We call these query books because, and Sandy maybe could demo, at the bottom of the screen, you're able to add an additional SQL statement. So here you have kind of like a vertical canvas for developing analytics. So that's a cool new feature. And then these are saved automatically as you sort of use the experience. But if you click the actions button, that allows you to explicitly save it and give it a name. And then what's cool is you can close the experience and come back tomorrow, crack open your query book, and kind of your context is restored so that the choice of the fact that you're using the Athena engine or the Redshift engine is restored, and Unified Studio kind of gets you back to where you were, so you can continue your analysis.
And I also see our little friend that we all know and love, the little hexagon that's purple and blue. The
we all love that.
Amazon
Yes.
Q.
So yeah, Amazon Q integrated. So yeah, there's some different experiences that are new here for Athena console users, also Redshift query editor users. So a lot of good kind of new capabilities kind of landing in the unified experience.
Yeah, Scott, this is so cool. I mean, you can imagine what customers had to do before this existed, right? Like you had all these different data sources. You had to pull all that data together under one hood, which, I mean, that in and of itself is a massive endeavor. And then once it's on there, you have to optimize it within there, despite the fact you've already optimized it at its source. So there's so much to do there, but now you're saying we can query cross data sources and leave and go get lunch and come back and keep working, or come back the next day with some of these features in Unified Studio, and then start to use generative AI. So I think those are all really incredible features, and I think that's about it, all the time we have. If folks want to learn more or get their hands a little dirtier than what they saw in this demo, where would you direct them?
Yeah, so we have a couple of blogs out there. First of all, there's Lakehouse documentation that provides kind of entry point for you to kind of start playing with it. And then there are blogs which goes in a lot of details about, okay, how do you configure the connectors? How can you mash those data sources and different data from the sources together?
Nice. Yeah. Cool. We'll drop those blogs in the chat. Sandeep, Scott, thanks for coming on. Awesome demo. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Hello, chat. It is us again.
Yeah, just the two of us.
Do you know what time it is?
It's
time for us to talk about this awesome survey and remind not our bosses, but the production team why they let us on here.
They'd like to think so.
The first 30 folks get $20 in AWS credits. Go ahead and take the survey.
$20. It's going up.
$20.
$20. Yeah, we want to know what you have to think. Do you find the information helpful? What do you think of the Star Wars stuff behind Kyle and his cool hat? Do you have any ski plans? When's the last time you went snowboarding? No, we don't want to know.
As I will remind you, Todd, I do not snowboard yet. I just take some snowboard wax and an old windbreaker, wax the front of the windbreaker, and then go down like a penguin.
Yeah, dude, I want to see this. Like, this
and then hopefully there's not a ski school at the bottom, because that's how I stop.
That's our next AWS OnAir promo. Just Kyle flying.
Hey, everyone, join us next Friday. You'll see Ski Patrol just running after me. That'll probably be the first time that Kyle was ever banned from that mountain.
Yeah, you've had some good ones, though. Some good promos before. You're shucking oysters and walking around Seattle.
That was brutal. Oysters and I do not get along. I tried it. Fam. I really did.
Ugh. So we were. Was it speaking of what?
I was going to say, speaking of fam in the club, we all fam. We got some other folks. But before that, what were you going to say, Todd?
I was going to say what you were going to say.
Oh, okay. Do you want to bring them on? Bring them on.
Yeah, let's bring on the repost live to do reposty things, as I said earlier.
I don't know if Nick has a fancy doodad that he plays here, but let's do it. Let's see.
Repost.
Hey, there we are.
Repost.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm Stephen Heavern. I'm a senior TAM based out of Philly. Go Birds. I'm joined by my colleague, Jay Bush out of Des Moines. Say hi, Jay.
Hello, I'm Jay Bush. Based out of Des Moines. Go Bears, but maybe next year. But we're hosts of AWS Repost Live. Your favorite show, of course, the show where we dive into your questions, right, Stephen? That's why it's the best show on the internet. We take some of your questions from Repost. If you don't already have a Repost account, of course, you could head over to repost.aws, sign up with your builder ID, and then you can engage with cool people like me and Stephen, chat about the Eagles, Bears, or maybe a tech question. That's usually what we're answering.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask us questions as we go along in chat. We'll try and answer you as best as we can. That's kind of our thing there in Repost Live. So we're here to answer your questions. So we're picking up from the previous two segments here, and starting with the S3 metadata tables. which I think is one of the really, really cool things to come along and what we've released from Repost. So we're going to dive right in. We don't have a lot of time. So the first question we've got coming up here is from user Tharun M. We'll bring it up here on screen, and really asking about getting metadata from the S3 getting S3 metadata out and using it and stuff. And really, this is just one of many questions and stuff that we get from our community around this topic. There we go. Now we got that working, right?
I can see,
you know,
metadata extraction
and
from S3.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons, you know, lots of questions here from the community over time, that variety of reasons, some of which were touched on right in the previous conversations with the S3 metatables and stuff. Like you've got to be able to identify data sets for AI ML workloads, storage optimization, looking for large files, unused files, being able to transition them to different tiers. So in this case, Tharun M's asking, you know, they want to be able to extract the metadata here, and they're looking to leverage the APIs and stuff, which you can totally do. And that's what's covered here in, you know, one of the questions, kind of diving in and, you know, kind of giving that guidance around doing the APIs and stuff, which is absolutely one way that you could do it. But that's requiring a lot of work and effort to build on this, right? So here, as we saw before in the demo, few clicks and you've got your tables up, you've got that data access, and now you can start to extract it. You can start to take, do those things. You can bring it over into the SageMaker Unified Studio, which I think we'll be getting to in a bit. So I think that's really, you know, for me, this is one of the kind of coolest. It's sometimes, you know, you look at these features, oh, it's kind of simple or straightforward. Well, that's kind of what we do, right? Make it easier to use, remove some of that heavy lifting. So, you know, that's what we got. What do you think there, Jay?
No one's going to complain about making it easier to operate on AWS. No one.
No, I don't think. I've never done that, at least. So that's a great question. So again, I think here in this case that the metadata is the way to go. And, you know, another user here, a little different use case. Repost user demo was, you know, asking about being able to kind of validate his data transfer into S3, right? Want to be able to take that metadata and kind of do some validation, you know, a little bit, maybe more than just checksum analysis and things like that. And, you know, one of the things that was suggested here, you know, was the option of doing using S3 inventory is absolutely an option, right? And there's some differences there, some different use cases and reasons. And I can see here, you know, one of the Aleskil, who's one of our Repost user community experts, who we've had on, and I think the other question was also answered by Gary McLean, who is another one of our Repost user community experts, who we've had on our live show before. So definitely, you know, go back, check that out, and I think we plan to probably have some more of our Repost user community on our show in the future. So here, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. Inventory is one way, and I think the big difference here is if you have a periodic need, right? If you maybe just occasionally need to get the data, something like that, S3 inventory, great way to do that, great way to pull that data out and extract what you need. But with the metadata tables here for Demo's needs, it sounds like he probably needs the metadata tables because that's near real time within a few minutes, and he's able to, you know, transfer his files and then within a few minutes check that transfer, do that integration on there. And I think he's really going to drive through that pretty cool. Any and in the chat, in the comments, let us know, what are your use cases? What are the things that you've kind of maybe struggled with in the past that this is making this easier for? Let us know. We want to hear from you on what you're doing.
Or post on Repost, of course.
And if you miss us here on the show live, absolutely head over to the Repost community, right, and ask your questions and stuff there. So I think in my section here, in my excitement with the S3 metadata, and I don't think I'm getting enough excitement across the feature. And it's, you know, just, you know, I can't help it. I'm a mogul on the slopes of data. And so we've got a final question here from repost user on the actually using it, who's out there, he's using the S3 metadata tables, and he has a question here. He's created the records, or created the tables, and he's pulled it out and he started looking at the data. I can talk here late on a Friday. And he noticed he had two different record types in there. So he was wondering, is is one's for an in-place copy, one's for another type of object. And he's wondering, how is this data and stuff represented? Which we have a great answer here. Our repost agent took a crack at answering this question. And first, and then again, one of our other users here, repost user Gary, he was able to check and verify the agent answer, and this actually came up as an accepted answer. So I think that's one of the other things you got to remember. Go out and repost, ask your questions. We got the agent that's going to maybe take a crack at seeing if they can answer that question, and go from there. But in this case, it's really it's tracking the changes of that metadata over time. So you're able to have multiple records for, say, a single object, reflecting whether the metadata changed or whether the object itself changed over time. And in this case here, what they're talking about is, the one is an update of the metadata, right? Something about the properties of that file changed, and the in-place record, copy in place, simply, it was just re-uploaded over itself and, overwritten in that current location. So really, as you dig into this, there's a lot of information there in the metadata tables and things that you can take and start to really analyze. So I think, pretty good time there for that. Jay, what do you got on your side? I think you're excited about the SageMaker and all the Lakehouse talk.
I'm very interested in and I know for those that don't know, we don't just answer, it's not just Q&A on reposts, right? We have knowledge articles, a bunch of guidance out there. So I'm taking a look at some guidance that someone posted out in our knowledge center that was all around connecting SageMaker to, in particular, Redshift, right? And this is kind of a common inquiry out there that I see, Stephen. And it really has to do a lot with what if I was to offer you a solution where you can bring all your data sources, your data warehouse or your lakehouse, et cetera, in a unified way with unified governance that offer you the ability to maintain some of that permission across your organization. Would that interest you? Could I interest you in that?
Yes, I think you could interest me in that. I might be willing to buy that.
Queries. Yes. So I'm taking a look at a little bit of guidance that actually I'm going to be following up on, based on some information I learned from our previous session. But SageMaker Lakehouse and some recent innovations we've made in the SageMaker domain, as well as the Athena federated query, and really being able to centralize all of your governance, the ability to query and analyze all of your data, be it in S3 or in Redshift, et cetera, in a centralized place, pretty cool to me. As much as I love wiring up different connectors and VPC connections, et cetera, that's what I'm taking a look at. So this particular Knowledge Center article caught my eye, and I will definitely be following up with some additional guidance for our repost community on that.
And I thought, oh no, I grabbed it. I thought I was going to grab another one, but I think we're probably getting kind of close to time. Actually,
I think we did as best as we could, as good as we can to serve the community.
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah, we can't just you can't get to everything in the time shown, but you can definitely come back, check us on our show for Repost Live. Sure. Check out the new features here with the S3 metadata and the SageMaker Lakehouse. I know I'm going to be hitting that some more as well. So anything last year about the SageMaker you want to make sure we cover before we
no, it's limited time. Check out the demo.
On.
We did a demo before, so I'm sure we'll be covering that topic in the future, Stephen. I bet we cover a lot more of that in the future. I'd say follow the show tag, Repost Live on Repost, and you'll be able to see when we do cover any Lakehouse announcements on the show.
Absolutely, yeah. Check out the Repost Live tag there on Repost, so you can follow along and know when to join our show when we got new shows coming up. Definitely follow us here on Twitch. So smash those buttons to join and get going. And Thanks, and hey,
Absolutely.
until next time, everybody, happy building and go birds.
Happy building.
Oh, hey.
I'm out of here. We're done.
Dude, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Just a minute.
Nick said we have to stay till we're done. We're done. I'm going skiing. Oh, yes.
Is this a moment? Are we having a
This is
moment?
a moment. All right, friends. Well, if you enjoyed the hilarious time we had and also the awesome new features of today's episode, be sure to catch us on Fridays, same time, same place, and yeah,
I'm gonna go sit
can't
by
end
the
it any
fire.
more legendary than this.
Yeah,
See ya.
dude.